Okay, so this is Arkham Horror. Just as you can see, when we talked about Fantasy of Flight, what did we talk about? Epic. There's a lot of stuff that comes inside this box. Just for reference, this is a 6-foot table, and I'm taking up most of it with the game. So what comes inside the box? There's a rule book. It's pretty big. Lots of pictures though. So there's it'll help you out in learning how to play the game. You've got a whole bunch of other bits, like you have these smaller cards here that represent items that the players have during the game. You have these bigger cards, which are encounters, represent encounters that you encounter while going through the world. You have Ancient One cards, which is the big baddie that we're trying to avoid waking up. And we have character cards, which represents your character in the game. There's a whole bunch of other various bits that represent money. They represent clues that you get to try to stop the Ancient One from coming. You have gates, which the Ancient One's little minions come through, and you have the minions themselves. There's a lot of minions in here. A lot of things to play, a lot of things to play against, a lot of things to fight. One thing that's important to remember about Arkham Horror is that it's a cooperative game. So when you're playing with your group, it's either everybody wins or everybody loses. Another thing to mention is that this game can also very easily be played as a solo game with you playing a group of adventurers trying to stop the horror in Arkham. Okay, so this is a sample character sheet of one of the characters in the game. It lists some vital statistics that you have to maintain throughout the game in order to keep your guy going. There's some stuff here that shows where he starts and what he starts with. This is just a special ability that will help him throughout the game. And then these are skills that will help him perform actions in the game. Okay, first part of a player's round is the upkeep phase. One of the major things you do in the upkeep phase is to adjust your skills. As I mentioned before, the skills here help you perform actions in the game, and you adjust them by moving these little links to the left or to the right. Now, you'll notice that you may notice the numbers are different across the top than they are across the bottom. So as you increase the skill in one row, it decreases the skill in another. And on the back of the card, if you want to get into the role-playing side of this game, which I would suggest, it's pretty cool. This is the backstory of the character that you're playing. Okay, the second phase of a player's turn is to move to a different location. I'm going to move to the general store, so I'm going to move him 2 spaces into the street and then into the general store. Okay, once I get to a location, I can do one of 2 things to have an encounter, which is the third phase of your turn. I could either have the encounter in the general store, or I can choose the card that corresponds to the neighborhood that I'm in. As you can see here, each card has a specific encounter for every location in the neighborhood. The last thing that happens in a player's turn is the Mythos card. The Mythos card is an event that happens. Could be good, could be bad, just depends on what's on the card. Okay, this is what's on the Mythos card. First thing is the event. This basically just says I'm going to be able to move 1 less point in the next phase. And then all of the monsters that are fast move like normal monsters. Second thing that happens is a clue appears at one of the locations, in this case the Silver Twilight Lodge. The third thing that happens is that the monsters that are already on the board move. Each monster has a little symbol, and there's a corresponding colored arrow, and they just move in the corresponding arrow. So all of the moon symboled monsters will move in the direction of a black arrow, and all the cross symboled monsters will move in the direction of a white arrow. Okay, this monster has a moon symbol, and here's a black arrow. The card said that we move the moon symboled characters in the direction of the black arrow, so he moves this way. Okay, and the last thing that happens is this symbol shows where a gate opens. So this is the Historical Society, this location here. So a gate opens up, and whenever a gate opens up, a monster appears in it right away. What we just talked about was the flow of play in the base game for Arkham Horror, but it doesn't stop there. There are several expansions available for the game, some of which add new cards and new characters, and some of them that add even whole new boards. So there's new locations to explore. The ones on the top are cards. They add new events and they add new monsters to the game. The Black Goat in the Woods, which is the first one, it adds a new cult which has come to Arkham and is causing various and sundry problems for on top of the problems that you had with the core game. The Curse of the Dark Pharaoh it's a museum exhibit that came, and again it's adding new monsters, new events, new experiences for the players. And the King in Yellow is about a play that's driving everybody insane in Arkham. It's again new events, new monsters. Now the ones across the bottom, the larger boxes, are the Kingsport Horror expansion and the Dunwich Horror expansion. They're all new cities that adjoin Arkham, and they add not only new characters, new events, new monsters, but they add new boards to the game, new places to explore. Okay, now like we mentioned, this is a Fantasy Flight game, and everything's epic about it, including the scope of the game. Now, that being said, there's a lot of rules in there, and it could get pretty confusing while you're trying to learn it. So there's a lot of player aids available on the internet to help you out and learn the game.